What if your parents weren't a coincidence? What if before you were born, before breath touched your lungs, you stood in the halls of eternity and chose them deliberately? Not because they would make life easy, but because they would shape your soul. What if the pain, the joy, the silence, the chaos were all threads you agreed to weave into the fabric of your human story? This isn't fantasy. It's not fiction. It's a remembering, a whisper carried from lifetime to lifetime. If you've ever felt like your family doesn't quite fit, or conversely, like a cosmic mirror, this message is for you. Because the soul does not enter life blindly. It enters with a plan, a promise, and a purpose. Across countless spiritual traditions and thousands of near-death and pre-birth regression cases, a mysterious truth begins to surface, that before incarnation, the soul participates in a sacred design. This includes not only choosing major life themes, but often the family into which it will be born. The concept of the pre-birth agreement suggests that we, as souls, choose our parents not for convenience but for evolution, for karmic resolution, for soul growth. You may wonder, why would anyone choose trauma, abandonment, or complexity? And yet, from the soul's perspective, these experiences are not punishments. They are catalysts, contracts, the terrain through which light remembers itself in the dark. In this episode, we'll explore what it means to choose your parents, from the soul's eye view. We'll unfold the layers of why your life looks the way it does and how your family, whether by blood or bond, is part of a deeper script. And most importantly, we'll invite you into a space of compassion, remembrance, and choice. 1. The soul's planning room. What happens before incarnation? Imagine a space that exists beyond time. Not a place of walls or planets, but of light and vibration, a space where souls gather before stepping into physical form. This is the planning room, known across mystical traditions as the realm of soul agreements. Here, surrounded by guides, elders, and your higher self, you make choices not with the mind, but with multidimensional wisdom. You see lifetimes past and potential, like pages in a living library, and you choose one, not randomly, not out of convenience, but because something in you knows, this life, this path, this family will awaken what you came to remember. In the planning room, you choose your major soul themes, perhaps forgiveness, courage, surrender, self-worth. Each theme becomes a thread woven into the narrative of your incarnation. And like any good story, it must have contrast. You don't choose love and only experience bliss. You choose to remember love by first walking through fear, rejection, or abandonment. Not to suffer, but to activate deeper layers of your being. One of the most significant choices is your entry point into life, your parents. You see their potential, their pain, their lineage. You feel the karmic threads, the ancestral stories, the unfinished lessons. And from a soul level, you ask, can I grow through this? Can I remember who I am within this dynamic? Sometimes the answer leads you to nurturing arms. Other times it leads to hardship, but always it leads to evolution. Many souls choose parents not for who they are, but for what they mirror. A mother who withholds love may activate your journey of self-love. A father who abandons may catalyze your strength. A lineage of silence may push you to become a voice for others. These choices are not about blame, they are about blueprint. You don't enter alone. In the planning room, other souls agree to walk with you. Some as family, some as friends, some as brief but powerful encounters. These are soul contracts, agreements made in love to serve awakening. Even those who hurt you deeply may be fulfilling a sacred role. This doesn't excuse the harm, but it shifts the lens from victimhood to vision. Children who pass early, parents who leave, cycles that repeat across generations, all of it is part of a larger choreography. And while it may not make sense from the ground, from the soul's view, it is a dance of growth. You also choose timing. The moment of your birth, your name, the culture, the generation, these carry frequency. They place you in the precise stream of collective evolution that supports your mission. You didn't just choose a body, you chose a role in a cosmic play. And then, you step forward, with full knowing that you will forget, that Earth comes with amnesia, that pain may make you question everything. But you embed markers, synchronicities, dreams, awakenings to help you remember. And when the time is right, you hear something, feel something, watch something, and your soul stirs. A whisper says you chose this, and it's time to wake up. So if you've ever looked at your parents and wondered why them, Know this, on some level you already know. And this isn't about justifying abuse or erasing pain. It's about expanding the story. It's about reclaiming your place as a conscious soul on a chosen path. It's about stepping back into the planning room, not to regret your choices, but to live them awake. Because the real question is no longer, why did I choose them? It's, what will I do with the life I chose? And from that space, everything shifts. In the next section, we'll explore why the soul might choose challenges, even the ones that seem unbearable from the outside, and how these choices shape the deepest awakenings of your life. 2. Contracts and catalysts. Why would a soul choose challenge? From the vantage point of the soul, life is not measured in ease but in evolution, and sometimes evolution demands contrast. Just as muscles are strengthened through resistance, the soul matures through experience, especially those that stretch the heart, test the will, or crack the illusion of separation. This is why some souls choose to be born into families that may seem, at first glance, far from loving. Why would a soul choose hardship, trauma, or limitation? The answer lies in one of the universe's deepest truths, that challenge, when met with presence, becomes alchemy. In the soul's pre-birth preparation, challenges are not punishments. They are initiations, contracts made not in fear but in love. Imagine this. You are in the planning room, surrounded by guides. You see a karmic thread, perhaps a pattern of abandonment, judgment, or shame carried through lifetimes, and you say, "This time I want to heal it." But healing does not happen in theory. It requires friction, a mirror, an experience that brings the wound to the surface. This is where the challenge begins, not to harm you, but to reveal you. The soul may choose a parent who cannot offer emotional presence so that you learn to source love from within, or a lineage filled with silence so that your voice becomes your medicine. Some choose illness, poverty, even rejection, not because they are broken, but because they are brave, because they carry the frequency of transformation. Catalysts come in many forms: a father's absence, a mother's pain, a sibling's betrayal. And while these experiences may fracture the heart, they also open it. Pain, when met consciously, becomes a portal. It teaches discernment, boundaries, compassion, strength. It strips away illusion, and slowly, sometimes painfully, it brings you back to your essence. The soul doesn't choose suffering for suffering's sake. It chooses the precise terrain through which its deepest qualities can be remembered. Like gold purified by fire, the soul knows that challenge refines. That darkness, when honored, can birth the light. This doesn't mean you must stay in pain or justify harm. Free will remains. You can walk away, seek healing, break cycles. In fact, choosing differently is often the very fulfillment of the original soul contract. The agreement was not to suffer forever, but to awaken. And sometimes awakening comes through fire. There is a saying in esoteric wisdom: the soul will keep choosing what it needs to grow until it no longer needs to choose it. Which means, once you've faced the pattern and reclaimed your power, you don't have to repeat it. The contract dissolves. You graduate the lesson. And here's the grace. The deeper your challenge, the greater your medicine. Those who've known despair often become the deepest healers. Those who've faced abandonment often hold space for others with fierce love. What you've lived becomes what you give. And in that giving, your life stops being defined by what happened to you and begins to be shaped by what you chose to create from it. So if you've wondered why your soul would choose such a difficult path, perhaps the answer is this: because it knew you could alchemize it into wisdom, because it trusted your light, because it saw not just the pain, but the purpose that would emerge. In the next section, we'll explore how these soul choices ripple across generations and how healing your story may just be the key to healing your entire lineage. Number 3, karmic threads. Healing across generations. Every soul enters life with invisible luggage, a suitcase packed not with possessions, but with patterns, imprints, emotional echoes, and ancestral frequencies. These karmic threads are the unseen scaffolding behind many of our struggles and stories. What we call family issues are often much older than we realize. They stretch back through generations, passed not just through DNA, but through behavior, belief, silence, and energetic resonance. And sometimes a soul agrees to enter that web, not to perpetuate it, but to untangle it. To be the one who wakes up, the one who ends the cycle. the one who chooses These threads can appear in countless forms. Addiction that recurs across generations, emotional shutdown passed like inheritance, unworthiness cloaked as loyalty, scarcity disguised as humility. You may have felt them. Perhaps in childhood, you noticed things others normalized but didn't feel right in your body. Or perhaps you faced blocks in your own life that feel bigger than personal failure, more like echoes. This is karmic momentum, energy-seeking transformation. The soul doesn't judge these patterns. It sees them as invitations. When you chose your family, you also chose their pain, not to carry it, but to liberate it. You were not sent to repeat, you were sent to rewrite. In the pre-birth state, souls often choose bloodlines based on vibrational match. If a family carries unprocessed grief, a soul seeking to embody joy might enter to transmute that heaviness. If a lineage is marked by silence and secrecy, a soul might incarnate to become a voice, clear, true, unafraid. These are not punishments, they are sacred assignments. The soul doesn't see pain as failure, it sees it as raw material for evolution. And the science is beginning to reflect this ancient truth. Epigenetics reveals how trauma, fear, and stress don't just affect one generation, they leave molecular fingerprints, altering gene expression for generations to come. But healing does the same. Your inner work changes the script not just for you, but for everyone connected to your field, past and future. So what does it mean to heal across generations? It means becoming conscious of what was unconscious. It means witnessing your triggers not as flaws, but as portals. It means choosing a new response when the old one would have been easier. It means forgiving, not for their sake, but for yours. It means speaking truth into the spaces that have long been silent. And often it means grieving. Grieving what your ancestors never got to feel. Grieving the childhood you wish you had. Grieving the roles you were forced to play to stay safe or loved. Grieving is not weakness. It is sacred release. It makes space for something new. To be a cycle breaker is not easy. It often feels lonely. You may be the first in your family to question, to feel deeply, to heal openly, but you are never truly alone. Your ancestors, those who wished for change but never had the tools, stand behind you. They whisper through intuition, synchronicity, dreams. They say, go, heal what we could not. And as you heal, the entire lineage shifts. Children you may never meet will benefit from the clarity you cultivate now. Patterns that lived in your grandmother's silence or your father's rage dissolve in your awareness. You are not just healing yourself, you are becoming a tuning fork for generations. This does not mean you must love or stay connected to those who harmed you. Boundaries are sacred. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do for a lineage is to say, no more. Not from hatred, but from clarity. Not to reject the bloodline, but to return it to balance. So if you felt burdened by your family's weight, take heart. You are not weak. You are a weaver. You are not cursed. You are chosen. You were sent to be a new note in the ancestral song, one that sings not of suffering, but of sovereignty. The moment you realize that healing yourself heals the past, the present, and the yet to be, you begin to live with a new reverence. You stop fighting your story, you begin to transmute it, and you walk not as a victim of lineage, but as its liberation. In the next chapter, we'll leave the realm of biology and enter a deeper mystery, the soul family. Who are the people who find you again and again, across lifetimes? And what sacred roles do they play in your evolution? 4. The role of soul families. Agreements beyond the earthly. While blood may tie us to lineage, soul ties reach far beyond biology. These are the bonds that defy logic, the people we meet and instantly recognize, the connections that feel ancient, like we've known them across centuries. Soul families are the spiritual kin that walk with us lifetime after lifetime, playing different roles, wearing different masks, but always carrying a familiar frequency. They are the ones we choose and are chosen by before we incarnate, not for comfort, but for evolution. In the planning room before birth, souls gather. You don't choose your journey in isolation, you do it in communion. There are souls who agree to meet you at specific crossroads, some to uplift, some to challenge, some to crack your heart open wide enough for light to pour in. These agreements are made not in fear, but in love. Deep soul love that transcends identity. Your best friend who feels like a sibling, the lover who transforms you, the stranger who changes your life in one conversation, these are likely soul family members. They aren't defined by duration, but by depth. A soulmate is not always romantic. A teacher is not always kind. A challenger is not always wrong. Soul family members catalyze your awakening, sometimes through joy, sometimes through rupture. You may have noticed recurring themes, patterns of relationships that appear over and over again. This may be the signature of unresolved soul contracts or the dance of a soul family refining its dynamic. Each meeting holds potential. Some relationships are meant to be brief but powerful, like comets streaking across the sky. Others are enduring, lifetimes of shared growth, each one chosen, each one sacred. But how do you recognize a soul family member? The signs are subtle but profound: a sense of immediate trust or tension, a feeling of home, dreams before meeting them, an uncanny sense of déjà vu. The relationship may not be easy, but it is undeniable. They awaken something you forgot you knew. They reflect both your light and your shadow. They don't just fit into your life, they reshape it. These soul companions often help you fulfill your life themes. If you came to learn trust, you may attract a soul who tests it. If you came to embody freedom, you may meet one who mirrors your old prisons. It's not personal, it's precise, not punishment, but purpose. Some of these relationships will evolve, some will end, and some may seem impossible to let go of. That's because the soul remembers the contract. But contracts are not cages. They are invitations. You are free to walk away, and in doing so, you may fulfill the agreement. Some soul lessons are learned not by staying, but by choosing your own sovereignty. There are also those we meet repeatedly across incarnations: lovers who return in new forms, siblings who become partners, enemies who become allies. The roles shift, but the connection deepens. These are what many mystics call core soul groups. Together, you move through lifetimes like actors in a divine play, exchanging roles to expand each other's consciousness. And then, there are the mission souls. These are rare. They come into your life to ignite your deepest calling. You may meet only once, you may not even speak, but something awakens, a seed is planted, a veil is lifted. These souls are like bells, striking your spirit into resonance. Recognizing your soul family is not about attachment, it's about alignment. It's not about clinging to the relationship, but about honoring what it evokes in you. When you meet one, don't ask, will they stay? Ask, what are we here to learn together? That question will anchor you in purpose. And when it's time to part, let go with grace. Some contracts are complete before your heart is ready, but trust, the soul never wastes connection. Even in endings, there is fulfillment. To walk with awareness of your soul family is to walk in humility. You begin to see that every encounter is encoded with meaning. You thank those who challenge you. You bless those who love you. You forgive those who awaken you through pain. Because beyond the personality, beyond the story, there is a web of light, a constellation of souls dancing across lifetimes. And you right now are in the center of that web, learning, remembering, choosing. In the next section, we'll step into the heart of the paradox, how even the most difficult parents may serve the highest awakening, and how to find the sacred in the shadow. Number 5. Difficult parents, divine lessons. Seeing the sacred in the shadow, few lessons in life are as persistent, as raw, and as defining as the ones taught through the family we are born into. For many, the most profound pain begins not with strangers, but with the very people meant to protect, nurture, and love us, our parents. And yet, what if, even in their absence, in their flaws, in their inability to give you what you needed, your parents were part of a deeper, divine design? What if your soul chose them not despite their imperfection, but because of it? This idea is not meant to romanticize abuse or deny pain. On the contrary, it is a lens of empowerment, not excuse. To see difficult parents through the eyes of the soul is to understand that even the darkest relationships can hold light. That every wound, when acknowledged and honored, becomes a doorway to awakening. In the pre-birth planning room, your soul reviews potential lives. It does not choose ease, it chooses evolution. And often that evolution requires contrast. A mother who withholds affection may become the sole catalyst for learning how to validate yourself. A father who abandons may carve the path that leads you inward, where you discover your unshakable source of love. Their limitation is not your destiny, it is your initiation. Some parents teach through their presence. Others teach through their absence. Some show you how to love by loving well. Others show you how to love by doing the opposite, forcing you to cultivate it from within. This is the sacred paradox. The soul understands it, the ego resists it, and healing begins when the two start to speak. It's not about bypassing. It's not about saying, they did the best they could when your inner child still screams for acknowledgement. It's about letting both truths live in you. They hurt me, and also I will no longer live from that wound. It's about honoring your grief and your growth, your pain and your power. Many souls choose difficult parents to break generational cycles, to be the first to say, this stops with me. Not to carry the burden, but to transmute it. You are not here to be your parents' parent, but you are here to learn what they could not teach, and perhaps to become in time the loving force in your own life that they could never be. Forgiveness is a word we use often in spiritual work, but it's important to clarify. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean allowing harm. It means releasing the hope that the past could have been different. It means taking your power back from the places you gave it away just to feel safe or seen. It means seeing your parents not just as titles, but as souls on their own complex path. And sometimes forgiveness means distance, loving from afar, creating boundaries so firm they become altars to your healing. In spiritual maturity, compassion and clarity walk hand in hand. You don't need to keep drinking from a poisoned well to prove you've healed. Sometimes the greatest reverence for your soul's journey is choosing to protect it. But if your parents have passed on, or the relationship feels forever broken, know this: soul contracts do not end with death. Healing can continue through dreams, through journaling, through dialogue with their higher self. What was left unsaid in life can still be spoken in spirit. The soul listens, always. Many people report breakthroughs later in life, after becoming parents themselves or after deep inner work. Suddenly they see their parents with new eyes, not just as roles, but as humans, flawed, wounded, sometimes doing their best, sometimes not. And in that moment of honest seeing, something softens, not because the past is erased, but because the soul has grown big enough to hold it. You are not your parents, but they are part of your story, and your power lies in how you choose to write the next chapters. Will you repeat the cycle, or will you become the space where a new pattern is born? To find the sacred in the shadow is not to justify the darkness, it is to reclaim your light. To look at your origin not with bitterness, but with awakened eyes that say, yes, it was hard, and yes, it shaped me, but I decide who I become now. And that, truly, is the mark of a soul who came not to suffer, but to remember. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore why we forget these soul plans, and how the veil of amnesia is not a curse, but the sacred condition that makes this human game worth playing. 6. Pre-birth amnesia. Why we forget the plan. Why would a soul, having crafted such intricate blueprints, having chosen such profound lessons, enter the world only to forget everything? Why would we willingly erase our divine origins, our contracts, our intentions? The answer is as mysterious as it is essential. Forgetting is part of the design. It is not a flaw in the system. It is the sacred condition that makes this game of being human so powerful, so real, and so transformative. Imagine arriving in this world fully remembering your soul's plan. Every karmic contract, every lesson, every wound, every sacred challenge laid out in front of you like a script. There would be no suspense, no free will, no deep surrender, no authentic choice. You would walk through life not as a sovereign being, but as an actor rehearsing lines already memorized. And where is the growth in that? Where is the wonder? Where is the risk that makes awakening real? Pre-birth amnesia is what makes love courageous, forgiveness meaningful, faith transformative, because without the forgetting, the remembering would have no power. You would never truly feel lost, and therefore could never know the ecstasy of rediscovering yourself. This veil of forgetting is thin, yet tenacious. At birth, the soul's awareness narrows. We enter a body that feels so separate, so fragile, so needy. Our identity begins to root in name, family, culture, survival. We are praised when we conform, scolded when we deviate. Slowly, the voice of the soul fades beneath the noise of the world, and yet, it never disappears. It waits. The soul leaves clues, moments of déjà vu, dreams that feel more real than waking life, an irrational attraction to certain places, times, symbols, a knowing that cannot be explained. The people you meet who stir something ancient in you, the pain that forces you inward, the longing that won't go away. All of it is the soul knocking, whispering, "You chose this, now remember." And the remembering doesn't come as a flash, it unfolds like slowly, layer by layer, as you heal, as you question, as you reclaim pieces of yourself once silenced. Sometimes it's triggered by loss, sometimes by love, sometimes by stillness, but always it's an invitation to go deeper, to look beyond the surface of your life and ask, what is really happening here? This forgetting also fosters compassion. If we remembered all our contracts, we might judge others for the roles they play in our life. But in forgetting, we feel the full range of human emotion, grief, anger, betrayal, and eventually we choose love anyway. That is the miracle. That is what elevates a soul. The ability to forgive from within the story, not above it. To choose peace not because you see the divine plan, but because you felt the human pain and chosen to rise anyway. Some ancient traditions speak of the river of Lethe, the waters of forgetfulness souls drink before birth. In modern spiritual psychology, it's referred to as the veil. Whatever the name, the essence remains. This world is a realm of sacred forgetting, and yet, hidden in plain sight are markers of your divine memory. When you begin to meditate, to journal, to walk in nature, to dream consciously, you thin the veil. You start to feel that your life is not random, that your pain has intelligence, that your gifts are not accidents, that you are not lost but on a spiral path home. And with each step of remembrance, your choices become more empowered. You begin to act not from reaction, but from resonance. Not to escape your life, but to embody it with new meaning. You become the bridge between the forgotten and the remembered, between form and soul. So if you're still wondering why you can't remember everything clearly, take heart. You were never meant to remember all at once. You were meant to rediscover, to awaken, to live your life not as a perfect map, but as a treasure hunt of the spirit. The forgetting is not your punishment, it is your invitation. And now, with each breath, each insight, each conscious choice, you remember a little more. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how to recognize the clues of your pre-birth contract. The moments, people, and inner signals that help you realize, yes, I chose this, and it's leading me back to who I've always been. Number 7, recognizing the agreement. Signs you chose them. How do you know if you truly chose your parents before birth? How can you recognize the invisible contract that shaped your entry into this world? The answers are not found in facts or logic. They are felt, remembered, intuited. To recognize the agreement is to see your life not through the eyes of the victim or even the survivor, but through the awakened soul. It means becoming a witness to the ways your experiences have perfectly mirrored your inner evolution, even when they didn't make sense at the time. One of the first signs of a soul agreement is a profound emotional charge. Whether love, grief, frustration, or awe, your parents evoke something deep and primal in you. These emotions, especially the challenging ones, are not just reactions, they are activations. When someone touches your soul at that depth, especially in ways that persist beyond logic, it is often a sign that something sacred is being stirred. Another clue lies in repetition. Do you find yourself encountering the same themes in different relationships? Do your romantic or professional connections echo unresolved dynamics with your mother or father? These echoes are like karmic reverberations, life giving you multiple opportunities to recognize the original pattern and shift it. Your soul agreements with your parents often set the foundation for how you relate to authority, intimacy, safety, and worth. Recognizing the pattern is the first step toward transcending it. You may also feel a mysterious sense of recognition or knowing. Even if your relationship with your parents was painful or complicated, there's often a part of you that feels, this was meant to be. It's not an intellectual conclusion, it's a soul resonance. You might even have dreams or visions from childhood that hint at the agreement, or feel inexplicably drawn to spiritual teachings about reincarnation, karma, or soul contracts. Synchronicities are another sign. Perhaps you find yourself reading a book or watching a video that reflects exactly what you're processing with your family. Perhaps you meet someone who shares your story with uncanny similarity. The universe often delivers confirmation through meaningful coincidences, gentle nudges that say, you're on the path of remembrance. But one of the clearest signs you're awakening to the agreement is when blame starts to soften. You no longer need to justify what happened, but you begin to understand it, not condone it, not erase it, but see it from a higher vantage point. You start to ask different questions. Not why did they do this to me, but what was my soul trying to experience, grow through, or heal? This shift in perspective is a doorway to freedom. It's also important to listen to your body. Your nervous system carries memory, soul memory, ancestral memory. Notice how your body responds when you recall childhood moments. Do you feel tension, numbness, a sense of protection? These sensations are gateways. They are the residue of the agreement made visible. When honored, they can lead you back to the original choice point. Sometimes the recognition of a soul agreement comes later in life. It may take decades of healing, distance, and integration before you can even glimpse it. And that's okay. Timing is divine. You are not late. You are not behind. Every insight arrives exactly when your spirit is ready to receive it. You may also discover that some agreements shift. Just because you chose your parents doesn't mean you must remain entangled in old dynamics forever. The agreement was to meet them, to experience something together, and then, through free will, to decide how you live in response. The contract is a beginning, not a prison. Journaling can help deepen your recognition. Try writing a letter from your soul's perspective before you incarnated. What did you hope to learn through your parents? What strengths were you cultivating? What karmic threads were you willing to face? Let the pen move without censorship. You may be surprised at the wisdom that pours through. You can also enter meditation and ask your higher self, what did I come here to remember through this relationship? Ask for symbols, memories, or emotions to arise. Trust what you receive, not because it's provable, but because it resonates. Ultimately, recognizing the agreement is not about labeling your parents as good or bad. It's about stepping into the sacred authorship of your life. It's about saying, I chose, and now I choose again. That is the power of a soul awake. In the next chapter, we will explore how to shift from unconscious repetition to conscious creation, how to break patterns, honor purpose, and become the cycle breaker your lineage has been waiting for. 8. Breaking patterns, honoring purpose, healing the family line. There comes a point in the soul's journey where survival is no longer enough, where the desire to repeat fades and the longing to repair, to reimagine emerges. This is the awakening of the cycle breaker, the one who often without a map begins to question inherited pain, notice familiar emotional loops, and feel the quiet but insistent call, there must be another way. If you've felt this call, if you've ever looked at your family dynamics and sensed that something needs to shift, you are already in motion. You are already rewriting the story. Breaking generational patterns is not about blame, it's about bravery. It requires you to see with clarity, but respond with compassion. You become both witness and participant. You begin to notice where the pain began, how it traveled, and most importantly, how it lives in you. And this awareness, as gentle or overwhelming as it may be, is your sacred entry point. Not to fix your family, but to liberate yourself. The first step in breaking a pattern is naming it. Emotional repression, codependency, addiction, shame-based parenting, silence, control, whatever it is, call it into the light. What remains hidden cannot be healed. Naming is not about judgment, it's about reclamation. When you name it, you separate your identity from it. You begin to say, this lives in me, but it is not me. Next comes the work of interrupting the cycle. This may look like setting boundaries your lineage never knew how to set. Speaking truth into places that were ruled by fear or secrecy, feeling grief that was buried for generations. Saying no when saying yes was expected, saying yes when silence was demanded. It may mean becoming the parent you never had, to your inner child, or to the next generation. This work is not theoretical, it is deeply embodied. It lives in your nervous system, your breath, your posture, your voice. Breaking a pattern means pausing where your ancestors reacted, breathing where they suppressed, listening where they shouted, softening where they hardened. And this is not always graceful. Sometimes it feels like loss, like betrayal, like loneliness, but it is sacred. As you do this work, you may find that your purpose becomes clearer. You stop living in reaction to the past and start living in alignment with something deeper. The pain that once defined you becomes your compass. The stories that once trapped you become your medicine. And what you heal within yourself ripples outward through your relationships, your children, your community. You become a lighthouse for others still lost in the fog of repetition. Honoring purpose is not about grand gestures. It is about choosing presence over programming. It is about doing differently, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It is about seeing every moment of choice, every conversation, every emotional trigger, every holiday gathering, as an opportunity to embody the future your ancestors never got to live. You may find yourself grieving a version of family that never existed. That too is part of the healing. You grieve the ideal so you can honor the real. And in honoring the real, you stop demanding that others become what they never had the tools to be. You forgive, not to excuse, but to release. And you create, not to escape, but to root. This healing journey is not linear. Some days you will feel like a warrior, other days like a wound. But every step is sacred. Every choice to pause, breathe, and realign is a revolution. And slowly a new pattern emerges, one rooted in truth, in wholeness, in conscious love. You are not here to carry the weight of your lineage forever. You are here to transmute it, to compost the pain into wisdom, to bless the bloodline not by repeating its patterns, but by evolving them. And you are not alone. Thousands, millions of souls are awakening to this calling, quietly, courageously, changing the narrative of entire families, cultures, histories. You are part of this wave, this remembering. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when family doesn't follow the script, when we're born into adoption, estrangement, or unexpected detours, and how even those paths are part of the soul's perfect choreography. 9. Adoption, estrangement, and alternate bonds. Agreements by detour. Not every soul agreement follows the traditional path. Some of us are not raised by our biological parents. Some are adopted. Some are estranged from family early in life. Some are raised by grandparents, foster systems, or chosen guardians. At first glance, these detours might appear as broken plans or cosmic errors. But what if they are part of the soul's deeper choreography? What if the very deviation is the destination? Adoption, for example, is not a spiritual mistake. It is often a soul contract between multiple parties. The biological parents, the adoptive parents, and the soul of the child all agree before birth to participate in a shared lesson, a shared evolution. For the birth parents, it may be about letting go. For the adoptive parents, about unconditional love. For the child, it might be about identity, trust, or belonging. These are not small themes, they are major arcs in the soul's journey. Estrangement, too, is often misunderstood. From the human perspective, it feels like loss, exile, abandonment. But from the soul's vantage point, it can be an act of sovereignty. A moment when the soul says, "This environment no longer supports my evolution. I must grow elsewhere." While painful, these breaks can be necessary to fulfill a deeper purpose. Just as a plant must sometimes be repotted to thrive, a soul may need distance to fully awaken. And then there are the soul bonds that form outside the traditional family structure. The best friend who becomes a sibling, the mentor who becomes a surrogate parent, the partner who feels like home. These are not accidents, they are rerouted contracts. If the original plan becomes obstructed, the universe responds with alternate agreements. The soul always finds a way. Sometimes a soul chooses a family knowing it will only stay briefly. Perhaps the conditions of that household would have hindered the child's mission, or the karmic thread was short. In such cases, the soul exits through adoption, through loss, or through an unexpected guardian. The shift may look chaotic on the surface, but beneath it is a sacred recalibration. These alternate bonds also remind us that family is not always about blood. It's about resonance, about soul recognition. The people who raise you, love you, challenge you, inspire you, they are your true soul family. Whether or not you share DNA is irrelevant. What matters is the exchange of energy, of presence, of soul-to-soul witnessing. Many people who are adopted or estranged feel a deep longing to understand their origins. This longing is valid. The soul remembers the original plan, even when the mind does not. Seeking out birth parents, researching family history, exploring lineage, It can be part of reclaiming your narrative. But it is not the only way to fulfill your purpose. Your soul's mission is not dependent on one path. It is adaptable, resilient, wise beyond comprehension. There's also a unique kind of wisdom that comes from walking an unconventional path. The adopted soul often carries great empathy, understanding rejection, identity, and belonging from the inside out. The estranged soul may become a master of boundaries, truth-telling, or emotional independence. The fostered soul may develop resilience, intuition, and the ability to love even when love is not returned. These are not wounds, they are initiations. When you honor your path, even the painful detours, you claim your soul's authority. You stop seeing your life as broken and start seeing it as bespoke. Every twist and turn becomes a verse in your sacred song. And when you share that song through art, through service, through presence, you give others permission to embrace their own detours. So if your family path has been complex, non-linear, or outside the norm, know this: you are not less spiritual. You are not less chosen. You are not less whole. In fact, you may be among the most ancient of souls, those who came to earth not for ease, but for evolution, not to follow the script, but to write a new one. In the final chapter, we will explore how to live these agreements consciously, how to move from unconscious repetition to awakened authorship, how to become not just the character in your story, but its creator. 10. From victim to creator. Living the agreement consciously. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the narrative must shift, when the pain that once defined us becomes the portal that awakens us. This is the moment of transmutation, the sacred turning point when we realize we are not here to endlessly replay old patterns. We are here to embody the original agreement, consciously, courageously, and creatively. To live your soul contract consciously is not about having all the answers. It's about choosing presence. Choosing to ask, in the face of every challenge, what is life trying to teach me here? It's about becoming aware of the roles you've played, the stories you've inherited, and the truths you've outgrown. And from that awareness, stepping into authorship. You are no longer merely a character in the story. You are now the storyteller. This doesn't mean denying the victim within you. It means holding space for them, listening to them, and honoring the pain they carry. But it also means not allowing them to steer your life anymore. It means shifting from, "Why did this happen to me?" to, "What will I create from this?" Because victimhood is not an identity, it's a temporary state that signals where the soul is ready to expand. As you awaken, you begin to notice where the contract is alive. In your relationships, your triggers, your longings, your fears, you feel the invitation to respond differently, to bring more compassion where there was once defense, to speak truth where there was once silence. Each conscious choice realigns you with your deeper intention. Living the agreement also means accepting your gifts. Many cycle breakers carry extraordinary intuition, empathy, insight, but have spent years hiding them in order to survive. Now is the time to reclaim them. Your sensitivity is not a weakness, it is your compass. Your pain is not a burden, it is your training ground. Your story is not a mistake, it is your medicine. When you embrace your role as creator, even the smallest acts become sacred. Choosing rest becomes rebellion against generations of burnout. Choosing joy becomes resistance to inherited sorrow. Choosing authenticity becomes a declaration of liberation. You begin to live not just for yourself, but as a living prayer to those who came before and those who will follow. You may still face challenges. The contract does not promise ease, but it does promise alignment. It does offer purpose. It does remind you that you are not lost, you are unfolding. And with each layer you peel back, each truth you embody, you get closer to the center of your soul's vow, to remember who you are and to live that truth in the world. So take a breath. Look at your life, not as a series of accidents, but as a soul's mosaic. See your parents, your pain, your path as portals. And know, you came here not to be rescued, but to rise. Not to follow the script, but to write a new one. Not just to survive, but to create, to heal, to love, to lead. You are not here to escape your story. You are here to transform it. Welcome home, creator. Welcome to your life, lived awake. If you've made it here, something inside you already remembers. You may not recall every detail of your soul's plan or every word from the pre-birth realm, but you feel it. In your bones, in your breath, in the quiet between thoughts. The remembrance lives in how your heart softens when you finally forgive, in how your spine straightens when you speak your truth, in how your life begins to make sense, not all at once, but in layers, like a song that slowly becomes familiar. This journey is not about perfection, it's about presence. You are not here to bypass your pain, you are here to alchemize it, to let it shape your wisdom, not your worth. And in doing so, you become a mirror for others still asleep in their forgetting. You become the soul who walks with grace, not because you've never been broken, but because you remembered how to rise. Everything you've lived has meaning. Every wound was a doorway, every choice a ripple in the great unfolding. And now you are no longer asleep at the wheel, you are awake. Awake to the patterns, the people, the purposes. Awake to the truth that you are not just living a story, you are the soul who wrote it. So walk on, with tenderness, with power, with reverence for the sacred contract that is your life. And remember, you are not alone. We are all walking each other home. If this message stirred something ancient in your soul, something beyond words, don't let it fade, let it root, let it ripple. Like, subscribe, and most of all, share this message with another soul who may be ready to remember. We're not just telling stories, we're waking up together. Let's keep walking each other home.